Good afternoon. If you have the ability to squish to the middle, that would be super helpful for those that are trying to find a seat. It's truly an honor to honor somebody so special today that Jason had the ability to he never met a stranger. I played football at BYU, and in 1994, Ruby River started to cater the football players the night before the game, and so you saw this young, skinny busser that had big dreams and kids on the way, and then to see where he progressed to where he was he was never really in the restaurant business. He was always in the people business. And I used to think it was always, you felt important to be the VIP, that he was every hostess's nightmare. Because what would happen, and I thought I was special, then I realized I wasn't, because you'd go stand over by the fireplace or the jukebox, make eye contact because you didn't want to wait an hour to get your meal, then go over to the hotel side, and then there'd be a big group of other people, and inevitably you'd say, "How do you know Jason?" And then, "Oh, Jason makes me feel important. We basically pay $70 to come see Jason." He had the ability to be just a special soul, to make everybody feel valued and important. And so I hope today he can just take a little peek on the other side of the veil and just realize how many people love Jason. The warning about me too is I can cry at a grocery market grand opening. So look past my inabilities to keep it together today. Our program will go as follows. We're going to have an opening prayer by Patty Jeffrey, and following that, we'll have a musical number, "You Raise Me Up," and we'll go to that point. Patty.
Our dear gracious Heavenly Father, as we come before Thee this day, we are grateful for all of our many blessings. We're grateful to have known and been friends with and been family with Jason. We love him and love his kindness towards other people, loved his happiness, and loved just who he was. We are grateful for the memories that we have of him, and look forward to the day that we will be able to be reunited with him again. We are grateful for all those who have traveled to get here this day, and pray that Thou will bless everyone with safety in their travels going back home. We love Thee and are grateful for Thy calming influence on us during this difficult time. We pray that Thou wilt bless those that speak in this meeting today, that they will be guided by Thee, and we love Thee and say these things in the name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
am down, and oh, my soul so weary. When troubles come, and my heart burdens me, then I am still and wait here on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. Raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am proud when I am on your shoulders. Raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up to more than I can be.
That was one of Jason's favorite songs. I am excited to hear from his family today, knowing if they're anything like Jason, they'll call it the way it is. I'm wearing the same boots that every time I'd purposely wear them when I knew I was going to see Jason, because he would look at me and say, "Good God, did your grandparents bring these across the plains or what?" So purposely I'm wearing the cowboy boots that Jason disliked with a passion to honor him. We'll have the obituary reading by his brother Troy. Follow that, his daughter Kenzie. Following Kenzie, Brandon, Jason's business partner and brother. And then we have a special music number from Grace and Emily. And so we'll go to that point. Troy.
Jason William Hargett passed away September 2nd, 2025 in Salem, Utah at the age of 51. He was born July 21st, 1974 in Atwater, California to parents Jerry and Janet Hargett. Jason spent most of his life working in the restaurant industry and co-owned Ruby River Steakhouse with his brother Brandon. He had a love for sports, especially golf, where he formed many lasting relationships and lifelong friendships. He loved people and made new friends wherever he went, making everyone laugh and feel special. Jason cherished spending time with his children and being a father. Jason's kindness, optimism for life, and humor were unmatched, and he will be greatly missed by those who knew him. Jason is survived by his mother, Janet Worth Hargett, and his brothers, Brandon and Troy Hargett. He was the proud and devoted father of Colby, Kenzie, Gabe, and Brock, with their mother, Amy Hargett, as well as London and Ledger with their mother, Natalie Hargett. He is also survived by his 3 grandchildren, Oakley, Augustus, and Eleanor Hargett. He was preceded in death by his father, Jerry Hargett, and grandmother, Helen Sterland.
Thank you all for coming. If you don't know me, my name's Kenzie, and I was my dad's favorite. And if you didn't know that, you didn't know my dad. Sorry, guys. My dad was the greatest, and one of my best friends our entire life. My entire life, well, and his too. And I really couldn't sit down and write this, so I got some notes, so here we go. I think HB, my dad, would have winged it as well. So the first thing I want to say is my dad was so full of life, so full of positivity and optimism, happiness, and just, he loved people, and you can see it here, and we had so many more people just come in who couldn't be here, but thank you all for being here. Another thing my dad loved doing was just joking around, and so he hated the color blue, so naturally I had to get blue flowers for him. After I graduated high school, I was ready to leave Utah, and I was watching Grey's Anatomy, and I was like, going to Seattle, and my dad never questioned it. He was like, F yeah, I'm not going to say the F word, but he said it a lot. And he was always, to the children. And he's like, let's go. And so we booked a ticket, and one of his best friends, John Bipper, lived out in Washington at the time, and called John up and was like, hey man, do you mind just like letting my daughter live with you for a bit? And so naturally we go out to Seattle. He drove me out there, and he dropped me off, and he never once questioned that I wouldn't be successful. And every step of the way he was there, he was so proud of me. He was always just celebrating, no matter what I did. Like, I made a new friend, and he'd be like, yes, you go. Like, he was just always so stoked on my life. And I remember when Hugh, the love of my life, and I started dating, my dad was so excited to meet him, and he's like, all right, we're going to Mexico. So we met in an airport, and it was just like, for them, love at first sight too. And to have Hugh and my dad so closely connected, my best friend and my love, was just, I think, the most special thing. As we all know, my dad loved to sing. He would find him singing country. You'd be finding him singing Josh Groban, which is why we chose that song. I don't know if anybody's had Josh Groban play at their funeral, but for my dad, it was right. And another thing, if you didn't know about my dad, he never knew the words to the songs. He would, fly over states. Like, for all the Ruby people here, you know that was his favorite song. And I don't think he knew half of the words. So, and I'm grateful that I took after him in that trait. I love Miley Cyrus, and I've listened to her songs a million times, but I don't know half the words. So when I sing, I always think about my dad. Speaking of singing, my dad would send me happy birthday either videos or voice memos every year for my birthday. And so to let my dad's voice sing, and because it was my birthday a few weeks ago, this was like when I was 26, so I'm not that young anymore, but this is, I think, one of my favorite videos of him, so I'm gonna play it. So get ready for the tears.
What's up, baby? So we're gonna do this. It's your birthday.
He's wearing a cowboy hat too.
We're gonna do this cowboy style. Okay? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Kenzie. Happy birthday to you. Okay, love you. Tip my cat to you. Love you so much, baby. Have so much fun. Mwah.
Me? And that was him. He was so full of life, and he loved me so much, and he knew that I loved him so much. And the last Lennon and Ledger, my cutest little brother and sister, I love you guys. I have been so fortunate to get to know them. We would go on trips together. Like, Hugh and I would secretly come to Utah just to spend it with London and Ledger. And it was so special to know how my dad was with me growing up, and then to see him be a dad to London and Ledger. And he loved those kids with all of his heart. I have so many videos of them just like throwing a football or yelling in the park, golfing. And he was just like, oh, yeah, that's my son. That's my daughter. Just like so full of life. So again, thank you all for being here and celebrating HP. My dad, he was larger than life, and he lived his life full. And I know he will never be forgotten, and his energy it's here. It was too great to just go away. So once again, thank you all for being here. And my dad, I miss you. I love you.
That's one thing he could do better than me, to sing. Because I could never sing, and I can't remember the words either to songs. So I think it's maybe a Hargett thing. My dad, Jason always said he hated funerals and he hated weddings, so I'm going to try to maybe lighten this up a little bit. I don't know. Never in my life I thought I'd be standing here today. You know, speaking of my brother's funeral. These been some of the hardest days, the last 10 days. And I've received so many calls and texts from people, and I haven't responded back to everyone. It's so hard. But the people I have talked to, you know, even over here, I had to take a break a little bit because I would hear these stories from you about like the fun times and the way he touched you and the way he he was so full of life. And just see him, like some of the pictures and the videos and stuff, it was almost too much, because but it was so touching to me to know how much he had an impact on every one of you. I mean, every one of you guys have a story, and like I loved hearing the stories. And so if I haven't got back to you, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Like everyone says, he's larger than life. I mean, when he'd walk into a room, high-fiving everyone, he'd maybe do like spins on the floor and break dancing. I don't know what he would do. He did this stupid like, hey, look at the elbow, and he'd touch the hand. And he's probably done it to all you guys. I have no idea what even that meant. I question him till this day. I'm like, what is that? I don't think it worked, but maybe it did. But like everyone he met, like you experienced him, he made you feel like you were like alive. Like it was like the greatest thing. He was like your best friend. You know, life hasn't always been easy. When I was 16, he was 13, so he's 3 years younger than me. My dad passed away, and we lived in California, and you know, that causes a lot of issues in my family, and we didn't really have any money, and so like my mom was working full time, and so like we became really close, Troy and me and Jason together, because I was driving him to school and we were playing all the sports, and so like it was really like a time when we really like bonded, I mean, so to speak, I guess, because we were always together during that time. Then once I went to college, they moved to Springville, and so and he calls me one day, and I was out in college there, and he calls me one day, he goes, "Hey, I'm gonna try out for the golf team." I'm like, "What, you weirdo?" I'm like, "What are you playing golf for? That's weird." You know, 'cause I was playing basketball and stuff like that. And he goes, "No, I'm trying out tomorrow." I'm like, "Okay, good luck." Anyway, I said, "Call me back in a week or so." He calls me back, he goes, I'm like, "Did you make it?" He goes, "No, I didn't make it." He goes, "I missed it by one shot." I said, "What happened?" He goes, "I don't know, some guy in the golf team called a penalty on me because I teed up in front of the tee markers." And so he missed it by a shot. I'm like, "Oh," so, but he kept playing golf, and then I moved back like a year later, and I'm like, "Hey, we should start playing golf, because if you know me, I'm really competitive." And I'm like, "I can't let him beat me," because he was whooping me. And so we lived in Springville, and Hobble Creek's really close, and that's why Hobble Creek is so like dear to us. We call it Hargett Creek as a joke. But we got a pass. There was a pass there for $275 for 7 days. You could do $225 for 5. You could do $275 for 7. But I'm like, "Hey," I think at the time my mom was paying, so I don't know where she's at right now. But that $275 you wrote out for both of us probably was a good deal for us, because we met. I mean, going on. So anyway, he made the golf team after that. He kept playing, and then, you know, he ended up winning the state championship, I think in 1993 or something with the team, which was really cool. They still have like a little Hoosiers photo up in the Springville like trophy room. So it's kind of cool, those guys. Really close fan group they had. You know, some of my favorite memories were always like meeting up in the Delta Lounge. Like it was like, we'd go on all these golf trips. So we started playing a lot of golf, and we'd go to these trips, and he'd be like, "I'm gonna beat you," and we'd go to the Delta Lounge and we'd play. But some of the best memories I had were just being in the airport, getting the rental cars, just driving, you know, 2 hours to wherever we're gonna go play, and playing in tournaments. And you get to know someone playing for 5 hours, and we played hundreds and hundreds of tournaments together. You know, we keep talking about golf, but he actually got pretty good for a little bit. He got pretty good. I think in 2014 he won the UGA Mid-Am at Hobble Creek, and he needed to eagle the last hole to win the tournament. And I don't know, maybe, I can't remember who was playing in that group. I think Fillmore and those guys. But anyway, he made this 20-foot curler on 18, won his first like big tournament, and then the very next, I think the next tournament, kind of close, was the Tournament of Champions up at Soldier Hollow. And he was in the final group, and I just got done, and I'm like, "I'll just go out there and see how he's doing." I'm like, "Oh, I don't know, he's playing with some pretty good players." I'm like, "I don't know if he's gonna do really well out there." And so I grab his bag and I caddy for him, and we're playing, and he's like going head to head, and Justin Keeley was in the group with him, and Justin's like, "Who's this guy? I don't even know who this guy is. Never heard of him before." Anyway, all he had to do was par the last hole, and he wins the tournament. And he hits the second shot on the green, and he hits it about 15 feet. I'm like, "Oh, we're gonna win this tournament. This is awesome." And so we walk up there, and I think Randy Dodson, wherever he's at, he was taking pictures, and there was kind of quite of a group kind of gathering around the green. And then he's looking over the putt, and he says, "Hey, let's just kind of like pose like the magazines." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "No, seriously." So I get behind him. I have looking like a caddy and stuff, and he's looking every which way, for the putt. And he goes up, and I'm like, "Oh no, this is not going to be good." And he putts it, and it goes like 8 feet past. He misses the comebacker, goes into a playoff, and loses on the second hole. I'm like, "Oh my God." So he was a little mad, but we're driving down the canyon, and we started laughing and giggling, and it was like, I mean, that's just Jason. He was always just so fun and so like, we just had like the best time, even though like that happened, and we still talk about it. I brought that up so many times to him, you know, for doing that. And then I'm not going to keep going on this, but like, you know, he won the Art City Amateur in 2019. That was a big deal for him. Mitch Scow's here somewhere, and he beat him on the 4th playoff hole, and Mitch was so gracious, but it was such a big win for him because I had won it 6 years earlier. And he did not, you know, he knew that, and I always let him know that I did that. So that was kind of a good thing for him. And then if you don't know about this story, you guys probably are in the wrong room, but he did hit a hole-in-one for $1 million. And that story, he was actually at my house that day, and it was kind of a good story. He goes, I'm supposed to go up to this Mark Eaton celebrity thing up at Red Ledges, and I said, well, why don't you go? And he goes, I don't have any clubs. I'm like, well, I have my clubs. Take them. And he goes, okay, I'll take them. So I'm like, whatever, I don't think anything of it. 6 hours later, he calls me, he goes, hey, I'm in the final 5 for this hole-in-one. I'm like, what, really? And I go, what happened? How'd you get in? He goes, well, I shanked one, went up in the rocks, it gets dropped down, all the way down to the green, starts trickling across the green, and goes about 10 inches away, so he's like, I'm in the final. He's like, I don't know. He's like, and he said, he was like, his Grandma Helen, and he always had this like special place in his heart, but he's like, Grandma Helen did it. And I'm like, oh, that's sweet, so. I'm okay. I'm like, call me back, you know. But actually, before he said it, he goes, hey, I'm like, well, what are you going to hit? How far is it? And he goes, 165 yards. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, I'm going to hit the 8-iron. I'm like, no, you can't hit the 8-iron. You got to hit the 9-iron. You're going to be like adrenaline. You're going to be pumped up. And so he's like, okay, you're right. I'm going to hit the 9-iron. So he goes, calls me back like half hour later. And he goes, guess what? And he's like, I made it. And it was like this, like we started crying on the phone, and like, you know, I knew he wasn't joking, and it was like a thing that like almost defined him in a way. He loved telling the story about it. I mean, everyone knows about the story. Even to like last, a couple weeks ago, we were at a U.S. food show, and this is the very last night that I saw him. But we were at a U.S. food show, we're going to dinner one night, and we get off and we're going in, and I'm like, hey, where's Jason? You know, we're always losing Jason. And I'm like, where's Jason at? And I turn around and I'm like, I'll go back and get him. So I walk out, he's at the valet, and I see him, he's like, there's 4 couples are out there. And I'm like, what is he doing? And I'm like, Jason. And he goes, he kind of waves me off. And he's like, I look, and all of a sudden he's like taking a picture with everyone, these 4 couples. I'm like, what is going on? So I walk over, I'm like, hey, what is going on? And the guy turns to me and goes, did you want to win $1 million too? I'm like, what? You've only been here 2 minutes. And then the wife of one of the guys grabs the phone and shows me him on Ellen. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, Jason, we got to go. I'm like, I just dragged him out of there. I'm like, you got to stop it. I'm like, that's the, anyway, I don't know about that here. Anyway, that's, you know, thank you so much for like your support and like for loving him and like remembering him. He hates this stuff, but you know, I hope you just remember like him and how much he meant to everyone and how much like he cared for everyone. He was so generous, he was so kind, and remember him like, you know, if you're, you know, every time, like I always say this, like when you show up to the golf course and he's on the first tee with you, like even if he's wearing flip-flops or camo shorts and ugly ass hats, you know, whatever it was. Actually, really quick, Dan Horner, one time he was wearing this ugliest Pebble Beach hat, and Dan looks at him and goes, of all the hats you could wear, or all the hats you could get at Pebble Beach, you picked that one? Ugliest thing ever. Anyway, but I love him. I'm gonna miss him. This is really hard. It's been hard for my family. It's been hard for us, but I want you to remember like how special he was and how much like, you know, everything. Just remember him just for who he was. So thank you.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. "'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear, the hour I first believed. Through many toils, "'tis grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home."
That was beautiful, you two. Brandon mentions golf. I play about once every 5 years, and Jason told me that he could help me learn how to swing the golf club. And so we went out to East Bay one day, and I swear to you, as only Jason can call it, with the F word and a few other choice words I won't share at the moment. But after the second hole, he goes, "I can't fix you. You need a professional." And I said, "Well, I thought you're a +2 handicap." He goes, "I can't blankety fix that." And he goes, I said, "So what are we saying?" He goes, "You need to leave and leave now." And sure enough, we made it through 2 holes, and we took off, and I bought him lunch, and haven't picked up the golf club since. So love that guy. We'll now be pleased to hear from Colby, Jason's son.
Thank you, Gracie, for singing. A few of us siblings offered, but we are absolutely all terrible at singing, so it would have been bad. I'll do my best to not let my emotions get the best of me here, but no promises. I'm at least relieved that my dad isn't sitting in the audience, because whenever we were giving a talk or anything in church growing up, he would always be sitting out in the audience just looking at us, trying to make us laugh, just making funny faces at us, so it's good he's not there. Yeah, for those that don't know me, my name is Colby Hargett. I'm the oldest of my dad's kids, and the last couple of weeks have been an absolute whirlwind of emotions. Driving down after I got the call simultaneously felt like the longest and shortest drive of my life. You know, the realization that he was gone sunk immediately. There's so many things that I wanted to share with him that hadn't had the chance to, but at the same time, there were so many good memories that had come back. My dad gave us a great childhood. He loved being a father. Our biggest worry as kids was him strapping us to the roof of the car naked. That was always his biggest threat to us. We kind of believed him. He never did it, but we always did kind of believe him. But I remember just him being so supportive of whatever sports and hobbies we wanted to pursue. And he was always there. He always took time out of his schedule to come watch us and cheer us on. And he was very competitive. That definitely rubbed off on us kids as well. Everything was always a little contest to see who could win, if we could beat him, but I mean, he loved beating us. He never let us win anything, so it was frustrating at the time, but I'm grateful for that now. And it just made it so much better later in life when we could actually kick his ass in most things. So, but every single time he'd want a rematch. He'd just yell rematch at us every time. And I think part of our competitiveness stemmed from the fact that when we were kids, he had us convinced that we had a special superpower, which came in the form of HP. And part of the reason we believed it was because he would do some pretty awesome stuff. I remember one night we were playing basketball out in the street, and he made 3 50-foot shots in a row. And he just, of course, he attributed it to HP, not himself. So he ran around the street just yelling HP. But I think finally later on we caught on that HP may not have been real, may not have been our superpower, but HP, that's my dad. It's his self-confidence. It's his charisma and passion for doing things out of the ordinary. I love my dad's lighthearted nature and just positive approach to everything in life. Whether the situation was good or bad, his response is always just, "Hey, how good?" That was his favorite thing to say. He loved that. He always wanted us to respond, "So good." He's always joking, had a great sense of humor. I remember on my wedding night, this is when we were about to leave, and he looked over at me and my wife. He didn't say anything to me, but he looked over her and said, "Hey, you have fun with my son tonight." But that was him. He was just unapologetically himself, and I love that. My dad is also a very hard worker, and I was fortunate enough to be able to work with him doing many things like building our childhood home, building our cabin, doing concrete work with him, and working at Ruby River as well. And I learned so much from his work ethic, and as I've gotten older, that's one of the things that I really appreciate most. He always told us that if we worked hard enough, we could have anything we wanted in life. And working at Ruby with him really showed how great of a people person he was. He could and would make friends with anyone. It's just, there were so many people that, I knew just because of him through Ruby or anything else. And, I had, long after I stopped working there, I still would bring friends and coworkers in, just to see him. And I lured them in with the discount, but, they wanted to go back in to see him. And, years later, I still have friends just randomly reaching out, asking how he is and saying how awesome he was. The one thing that probably brought us the most connection, though, was, of course, golf. So many memories of going up to him with Hop Creek by hole 17. There's a little practice putting green. We'd go up there for hours on end. And at first, it was just us driving our little trucks in the sand trap for forever while he practiced. But later on, we got to play with him, and he would always have putting contests with us and everything. So lots of good memories there. I was also able to caddy for him on a lot of golf tournaments too. So it was great to have one-on-one time with him and just get to know him better. And I'm sure I gave him terrible advice, but he always still brought me along, and I love that. Speaking again of competitiveness, that was the one thing we could never beat him at. The last time we played together, I was one up on him going into the last hole, and he ended up birding the last hole just to tie me. I remember him saying, "Next time, buddy." And that bastard got lucky though. He knew we were coming for him. We were getting really close to beating him. It was gonna be soon. But he'll forever be the reigning champ, so he's got that on us. All these good memories have made the last few years really tough. Seeing his health and his mind decline. One of the last conversations I had with him in person was on Father's Day last year. It was right after I found out that I was going to be a dad. Even though things with him had been strained, I was still so excited to tell him. Sorry. After I told him, he told me how proud he was of me, and that was the greatest thing I'll ever do. And that was always the case, no matter what, no matter how bad things got. He always made a point to still tell me he loved me, and tell me he was proud of me. And I know in my heart that he meant that. I miss you so much already. And I'll do my best to preserve and pass on the things I've learned from you. So, until next time, I'm looking forward to our next round together. Love you, Dad.
Thank you, Colby. As you can imagine, knowing Jason since 1994, I have a few stories, many of you. I thought I'd share a few. It was Jason had bought a motorcycle. I ride a Harley, and he bought a Yamaha. And it was a fall day, and we were going to go for a ride up Aspen Grove, the Aspen Loop. It was chilly, and I'm leathered up, and same boots as I'm wearing today. And what does he show up with? Flip-flops, no helmet, the ugly-ass sunglasses I've ever seen before in my life. And I said, "Are you going to really ride in that?" And he goes, "Yep." And we took off, and it was crazy going up the road, and he kept sparking his foot pegs because it was tight turns. And we pulled over, and I go, do you feel safe riding flip-flops? He goes, "It's really great. Sometimes I just put my small toe out, and I just grind my toenails." And I'm like, good hell, who am I riding with here? Another time I'd sold Jason a home up in Somerset. It's a twin home development up and it was a foreclosure. And he was chomping at the bit to get in there and do a little work before it closed. And I said, "Jason, I can't give you the code now. If you want to look over my shoulder and look at it, but I can't have you do any major remodels. You got to wait 2 weeks." And I didn't really dare to drive back up there and follow up, but I didn't. About 2 days before closing, I did get a call from the listing agent, and they were hot. And they demanded I meet him up there, and sure enough, I went up there, and it wasn't just a little remodel that was going on. He was remodeling somebody else's home. And I just played dumb because I'm good at it, and I was texting Jason. I'm like, I got to give him their number. I could get in big trouble. And he goes, "Yeah, have him call me." And I don't know where poor Hector is, but Jason sold Hector threw him under the bus by saying he had this Latino that couldn't speak English. And that he must have misunderstood that he couldn't do the remodel until after closing. And needless to say, the bank was not happy. But as typical Jason fashion, he talked his way out of it. It closed, and he got a definite jump start on the remodel. I own several different apartments, and it was not uncommon for Jason to reach out and say, I have an employee that they probably don't qualify and they probably don't have a legal social, but I can vouch for him. And he was just always going to bat for his people. He was truly one of the kind. He loved his family, he loved Amy, he loved Natalie. He loved his kids, he loved his mom, he loved the twins. He always said, where I did it wrong with my others, I'm going to make it right with the twins. He was truly great. I was trying to get him out of the house. This spring, I'm a hunter, so I had a spring bear tag. Thought it would be good to take the golfer out and do a little spring bear hunting. It was much similar like me golfing. I showed up to pick Jason up, and I'm in my Kuyu Sitka camouflage, and he pulled out with his Titleist hat, Callaway shirt, and pink shorts. I'm like, we're not going to the driving range. He goes, no, I'm ready to go spring bear hunt. And so sure enough, we took him up and had a great time. He was truly one of a kind. Never met a stranger. Didn't matter what situation you were in, you could always introduce him to Jason, and the people would walk away like you guys and think, you know what, I'm the most important person to this individual. In the scriptures, it says concerning faith, it says, dispute not because you receive not, because you receive no witness until after the trial of your faith. I think we're all having a little trial of our faith with the loss of a really good man. But I don't know of a better way to honor Jason Hargett than for us to spend a little time by ourselves sometime today and figure out that attribute, that quality that Jason possessed. And then we try to honor him by perfecting that attribute and work on it daily so his legacy lives on. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time. I believe the billionaire and beggar have one thing in common. They have the same amount of time. It's what you choose to do with it. And so thanks for spending your Saturday afternoon to honor such a great human. And with that said, much love and respect, and we'll turn it over to Gabe for the closing prayer.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this wonderful experience we have today, celebrating Jason and all that he brought. And we're thankful for all his friends and family that he's brought here today. And please bless that everyone in their recovery will remember the good times and what they mean to them, and we're so thankful for his kind heart. His loving spirit. Thankful for how wonderful of a dad he was, and what that influence will mean in the future of his kids' lives. We're thankful for all the love that we were able to give him today, and please help him in the afterlife with everything. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
The circle
today.